suppose I'll just start by introducing myself. I'm George Gawley, and I'm from the Farm Advisory Service, and I'd like to welcome you along here to the first of our Borders Women in Ag meetings for 2021, and this is part of the wider FAS Motivate and Inspire series, where women in agriculture groups across Scotland are going to be hosting different and motivating and inspiring speakers. So yeah, keep an eye out for other motivate and inspiring meetings coming up. You can do that by checking out the www.fas.scot website. We've also got the Facebook and Twitter pages where you can find out more about the upcoming meetings. So I'm just gonna start by doing a wee poll. I'd just like to know where everyone's from. So I'll just, if you could all just let me know where you're all joining from today, that'd be great. Almost everybody voted there, so looks like we've got a resounding group from the Lothians and Borders, and a couple joining us from the southwest, and 5% other. I'd be interested to know where the other are from. Actually, if you use the chat, you can let me know where you're from. That'd be great. Anyone outside of the UK, let us know where you're from. But yeah, I guess I'll just maybe say, for those of you who aren't familiar with the Women in Ag groups, the Borders region runs at least 3 of these meetings per year, and all the other groups around Scotland will be doing the same. So as I said, check out the website for the upcoming meetings. The aim of today's meeting is basically to try and take a break from all the doom and the gloom out there at the moment, and to try and restore a wee bit more confidence, and just to hear an inspiring story, really. And I think today's guest, she's not only a Borders local, but for those of you who use Twitter, will probably know that she's a very strong advocate for both women in agriculture and just agriculture in general. So I'd just like to say that she's had an amazing career, from being involved in young farmers to farm management and diversifying and starting the succession process on her family business, and all this at just 30 years of age. So quite remarkable. So I'll waste no more time in just passing you straight over to Annabel.
Right. Hopefully, George, can you see that?
Yeah, that's grand. Yeah.
Perfect. Right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for joining. Just like to thank George for telling everybody that I'm going to be 30 this year. Oh dear. But yeah, I'd just like to thank George for organising.
We can edit that bit out. Don't worry. We can.
I'm going to be 21. Yeah, no, I'd just like to thank George for setting up today, and also just like to say thank you to the Farm Advisory Service as well. I hope you all enjoy what I'm going to be talking about today. I'm going to be as honest with you all as I can, because I think that's, people really appreciate that. You'll probably, throughout the talk, you'll realise how genuinely passionate I am for UK agriculture, for trying to get the younger generation into agriculture, and also for women in ag as well. As George said, we're going to do questions at the end, but the chat option is also open. So let's begin. Can you still see that, George? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's grand. Yeah.
Right, so just a quick background on myself. You'll see in that top right picture is myself and my brother. Edge was bought, so Edge is the family farm, and it was bought in 1980, and Dad moved here in 1980 as well. Myself and my brother, we spent most of our childhood outside, and I spent most of my childhood probably wearing that exact same outfit. Seemed to spend my life in wellies, but that as a child, you know, I loved being outside, and you know, years later, I still love being outside, especially on days like today. I was a keen member of Reston Young Farmers, made friends for life, and you know, we were still a really tight group of that age that we were. Seemed to spend numerous weekends driving around the Borders countryside, coming across town halls or village halls that you never knew that were there. But it really was the most fantastic group to be part of. And I really hope that even after COVID, I know young farmer clubs are struggling with memberships, but I really hope that, you know, it comes back to life, because it really was fantastic. After school, I went to Durham University. I actually went to go study geology. I had the most fantastic geology teacher at school, and just his passion kind of rubbed off onto me, and in my head, that is what I wanted to go do. Unfortunately, my grades didn't quite hit the mark, so I had to take a year out and had to brush up on my maths and my chemistry. But you know, I suppose that comes across is that if I want something, I will try my hardest to get it, and I can safely say that I got in and enjoyed the social side of university, I shall say. After so the first term, I came home at Christmas time, and I just really wasn't enjoying the course. It was really academic. I work hard. That is why I got into Durham. But academically, I wasn't quite there. It was just felt like really hard work, and it wasn't enjoyable. But I played tennis for the university. I had really good housemates. I enjoyed the social side, and I just thought, right, I'm just stick with it. It's 3 years. You're in a fantastic uni. It'll stand me in good stead. So I did. I got through the 3 years, and you know, university for me, I suppose it was more, you know, learning that there are some weird and wonderful people in the world, and that it just really broadened my mind, and that for me was really good. And you know, I'd like to say that I've gone, you know, when I've gone to do these jobs that I've gone to go do, I'd like to think that those life and social skills have stood me in good stead. So that for me was my Durham experience. It wasn't necessarily the degree, and I won't use it, unfortunately, but it was the other side, the social side, that really, you know, that was good for me. Once I finished at Durham, I went and did a harvest at the co-op when co-op was still operating in Berwickshire. So I went there. From that harvest, I then went to Cirencester to do a graduate diploma in agriculture. Same sort of thing. I didn't really learn much on the course, but we went on the most fantastic field trips. We went all over the place visiting farms, and that was so interesting. And because it was a graduate diploma, there were postgraduates, so people like myself who had gone and done another degree, or people that we had a guy who was a captain in the army, we had an optician, like really, again, weird and wonderful people that were on this course. And as I said, you know, going and visiting all these farms and seeing what other people are doing, it, you know, just shows you what's going on in UK ag. There really is so much. So that was kind of my educational side. So a lot of people usually ask why I went into agriculture. I suppose for me, you can probably get, I'm bubbly, I enjoy talking to people, I can talk to a brick wall quite happily, but for me, I really enjoy interacting with people, and in the job that I'm doing, I can do that on a daily basis. I can speak to, we've got staff to speak to, salespeople, mechanics, grain traders, agronomists, and being, in that social circle with people, there's always someone that I can call, there's always someone I can ask advice on. And for me, I've never ever been afraid to ask for help. Firm believer that if you don't know, you don't know, and you just got to ask the question. With the younger guys who I've worked with, you always want them to ask you. You never want someone to be afraid of asking you a question, because that's when mistakes get made, and you kind of just lose that personal touch. So for me, I've always asked questions. I think it's quite an important part of life. I love the variety of jobs on farm. Just the day-to-day running, there's always something different. No day is ever the same, whether something goes wrong or something's gone right. There's always something different. I thoroughly enjoy learning. It's always good to keep your brain going, especially mine, because it can probably get a bit lazy. But it's whether I've, if I have made a mistake, I'll learn from it. Or at the moment there's lots of webinars going on, or just ringing up and talking to a friend. You'll always learn something. Again, during harvest time, I get a real buzz for what's going on, and you kind of, the adrenaline kicks in, and it sort of keeps you going for several months. And then it's not until you kind of stop that you realise, what you've done, and it's just quite nice to relax. But I love that buzz. I love harvest. It's always just a great time of year. I've always found agriculture, there's actually quite a lot of science behind it all. And even though I'm not very academic, I do enjoy it. So the arable side, the sort of agronomy, and then also the livestock side, whether it's looking into the diets of the cattle, and if we can tweak them. As I said before, I love being outside, and when the sun shines, you just realise how lucky you are to do what you do. I know it sounds very much a cliche, but there is a certain lifestyle that comes with farming, and I think especially with COVID, it has shown genuinely how lucky we are, and we are surrounded by countryside, and it's beautiful. But at the end of the day, the farm is a business that needs to make money, and so you do have to have that business head on you as well. The other thing, I do like the winter time. When it comes to December, the guys, they're taking some holiday, and you've got a shorter day, and you can just sort of chill out and just breathe, relax, and kind of sort of start preparing for the next season. So my farming career began in Lincolnshire. So after I'd just finished at Cirencester, I did a harvest down in Oxfordshire as well. And whilst I was doing harvest, I applied for an arable manager's job in Lincoln. They were large potato growers, and it just when I went up there for my interview and sort of had a look around, I was like, this is what I want to do. So I started there sort of just end of September 2014. Now I was there for 4 years. It was a 3,500 acre farm. We grew 600 acres of potatoes, which that was kind of my bread and butter. That is what I did every day. There was also a pig unit where they finished about 12,500 pigs a year. There was over 20 staff, so a big estate, lots going on, plenty of people. There was also, they had an estate up in Scotland, so I'd come up to Perth a few times a year. I was very fortunate that they put me through my basis, so my sort of agronomy exams, and my facts, so fertilizer. So legally I can give a sort of agronomical and fertilizer advice. Again, in Lincoln, I was really lucky. I got to be part of a few sort of development programs. So I was part of the potato program that was run by AHDB. So, so a meeting, I think there was about 15, 20 of us, and we'd meet up every month and we'd go do something different. So we'd go look around like the McCain's potato factory, farm visits, things like that. And again, getting out there and seeing what other people are doing, and you have that group of people, you have contacts, you have people that you can ring. I was also lucky enough to do a sugar beet one as well. So that was run by British Sugar. So we got to go around all the factories, and again, you went to producers, and it just a network of people and just thoroughly enjoyable. So I gave this farm in Lincoln pretty much my life for 4 years. It was hard work. I lived on my own. Sad to say, I had no friends. But I pretty much gave that farm my life. I would only come home 3 or 4 times a year, which I'm really close with my family, so that was quite a big thing. But it was just the job. It was full on. There was a lot going on. There was a lot of staff, and you kind of, the thought of going away or coming home was just, there was so much to think about and so much to organise. And you just, sad at the end of the day, you're like, it's actually probably less stressful if I stay here. And there's you felt like there was less to go wrong if you were there. And for me, I would always give someone 110%, and I felt if I went away, then I probably wasn't quite doing that. So I did just under 4 years there, and then I wanted some friends. I wanted to go out and just, I've got a close group of cousins. I've got, as I said, friends from young farmers, and I didn't get to see them, and that was quite sad for me. So my partner and I, Tom, we actually decided to move up to Northumberland. So I finished in Lincoln in June 2018, and then we actually went to America for 6 weeks and just did a big road trip. Just drove all over the States and just had fun and spent money, and just went and saw what was going on in America, which was great fun. And then we hit the ground again, and I started as an arable manager at a farm in Northumberland. So the farm in Northumberland was about 5,000 acres. Again, it was split sort of 50-50 grass and the rest arable. And I kind of started in the arable, and as time went on, I sort of started doing more and more other pieces. So that took up a bit of time. There was about 300 cows and just over 2,000 sheep. And then there was 15 members of staff. So again, first estate, there's over 20 guys, and then the second place there was 15 of us, so a lot of people. Again, in Northumberland, I got to go experience just a few different things. The guy I was working for, he developed a product which stopped poachers entering a field, so it was effectively a big concrete block. So I got to sort of get involved with patents and trading and just learning something else, which I really enjoyed. And then June 2020, I came home. So I was there for nearly 2 years, and it was probably enough there. It was pretty hard work. There was a lot going on, but kind of the time had come. I was reaching a point in my life, deciding, where I'm going to go next, and sort of Dad and I started talks that I was going to head home fairly soon. So just a little bit about sort of my career in farm management, I suppose. So just to explain a couple of pictures on the screen, the top left-hand one, that was when I was part of the sugar beet program, and that was when we were at Birmingham, and Minette Batters had just been appointed. So that was probably her first sort of event that she'd come to, and she'd come to hear us all dribble on about sugar beet. But that was really a really fun course, because you know, all the females that are in that picture, we were all involved in ag. There was another one like me who was involved in the farm. There was a few of them that worked for British Sugar, and then one of the other girls, she worked for a seed company. So that was, you know, that was nice, and that's probably the first group being a higher proportion of females. So the bottom picture, little old me at the end in a white bobbly hat. So that was the first farm that I worked for in Lincolnshire, and that picture probably summarises females in ag quite well. That you know, we are in the minority, and they were all a really nice group of guys, and I've never ever been made to feel uncomfortable. But that picture just kind of, for me, it really does show you that, you know, there's not many of us about, but as I said, a really good group of guys, and just a bit of fun. The middle picture, so that's myself and my brother Alistair. When the farm I was at in Lincoln, we actually, quite cool, we grew poppies for morphine. So that was quite a unique thing. We were at that time, we were probably the biggest in the UK grower. So that was quite cool to be involved with. And at least down there, I could wear my shorts during most of the summer, whereas up here you have to pick and choose your days. But no, that was good fun. And then the picture on the right, that's the invention that my boss made in Northumberland that we took to the big show to stop poachers coming in your fields. So some of the main challenges for me with farm management was sort of just managing that many staff. You know, that is a lot of people to organise, and for them to be in the right place at the right time, and to make sure that they're prepared if they've got the chemical or they've got the recommendation sheets that they need. And you know, that I've realised since I've come home that in both of my previous jobs, all I really did was look after people, and that's not a bad thing. That was why I was there. And but you kind of, I've now realised, I have been at home with less people, I have more time to actually start looking into things. And I almost felt in those two previous roles, you know, I didn't really have time to really look into cover crops or other varieties. It kind of just, the day-to-day was making sure that everybody was happy, which for me is quite high. I have a really high standard, and you know, there were times where you found yourself working, you know, really long hours just to try and make sure that everybody was going to be in the right place at the right time. And then I kind of, George and I were chatting about sort of challenges that women have come across. And I suppose for me, as a female and working in a male dominated environment and working with a lot of male staff, if you say please and thank you and in the right tone, you know, as management, people, you know, have to have a pretty big reason to say no. And I always had the same amount of respect that I would want them to have respect for me. The other thing, I'd never ever ask anyone to do something that I was not prepared to do myself. So, you know, during potato time, if someone got stuck or potato harvester got stuck full of soil, you know, you get stuck in, you just have to. And it's amazing, you know, things like that, how much respect that gains you from guys, or well, from people in general. But yeah, and as I said, you know, I've never been made to feel uncomfortable. You do get some people, you know, if you ring someone up and they kind of just have to double take who they're talking to. But you know, again, if you understand what you're talking about, you know, that's, yeah, I kind of, people have no reason not to speak to you, and just because they think that you're a female, you don't know what you're talking about. You know, it's a tricky one, that one. But for me, I care, I'm motivated, I use my initiative, and I kind of got to get up and go. And I think I'd like to think that's what an employer saw in me, and that, it didn't really matter, if I was female or not. And for both of those farming companies, I was the first female that they'd had in a management role, so it was probably quite a big thing for them. And I know when I was talking to sort of the first farmer was in Lincoln, one of his worries was how the staff would react to a female, and it was fine. It worked really well. Another thing that I found really important at both of those places and coming home, I'd organised quite a few team trips. So we'd go karting. So that was always quite interesting when I'd be in the middle of a group of guys. We'd go to the rugby, we'd go greyhound racing, bowling, Christmas meals, the odd trip to the pub. It was so important to get the guys off the farm, socialise in a different environment, and just go and have some fun, and mainly to say thank you for all your hard work. So that for me was really important, to get the guys off the farm, say thank you, and just have a bit of fun. So one thing that I've done, I think I've done this for about a year now. It's called Farmer Time, and it was actually called FaceTime Farmer, but it is now called Farmer Time, I've been told. So I've been paired with this primary school down in Bolton, and every 2 weeks we FaceTime on my phone for up 20 minutes max. And I just tell the kids what I've been up to or what I'm up to at that specific time. I usually go either into a field of cattle or in a tractor, or I go somewhere where there's something going on. And to be honest, a lot of the time the kids just want to see what's going on behind you, and they're probably not really listening to what I'm waffling on about. But it's just, I don't know, for me, I find it really important that there are kids out there that don't necessarily know where their food comes from, and it literally takes 20 minutes. It's not, and because it's on your phone, or as long as you've got 4G, then you're fine. And I actually, for the talk, I spoke to the lady and found out how the Borders was doing, and there's only 2 farmers signed up in the Borders for this, which makes me quite sad. And that could be for any reason. It could purely be because people don't know that this is out there. So I have put the website and Tabitha's email down there, who looks after it, and I asked very nicely, if you know of anybody who has 20 minutes, just enjoys talking about what they're doing or has something interesting going on, please ask them to get involved. There's 1 school signed up in the Borders, and there's 524 schools across the UK signed up for this. It's run by Leaf Education, and it was founded by a farmer called Tom Martin. And it is one of the most rewarding things when you pick up a lamb, or you're feeding a lamb, and you just hear all the kids behind you screaming with excitement, with what's going on. And as I said, if you know of anybody who would think that this would be up their street, please get involved. It is a fantastic thing, and it's important that it gets supported. So in June 2020, I returned home to the family farm. So we're situated just sort of the southeast coast. As I said before, the farm was bought in 1979, and Dad moved here in 1980. We've got 2 sort of full-time guys, and then we get a few extra guys in at harvest to help. We're a mixed operation, and sorry, mumbling now. So it's mixed family farm. We fatten around 300 cattle a year. We are striving for the high quality butcher market. So the heifer on the right hand side, she's just over 600 kilos. That's what we are aiming for, 600 kilos off to the market. about 95% of what we sell goes through the market, so it's been sold live, and the rest are going straight from the farm to the abattoir, so they're being sold dead weight. We have the majority of what we have heifers, and the bullocks are usually the ones that get sold dead weight. The butchers have a really fine line of what they're looking for, so there's actually quite a lot of precision involved with what we're trying to do. Speaking to one butcher, and actually now, if the steaks are too big and they're too expensive, people don't want them. So we've got to be really careful of how big we're letting the animal get. The nice thing about with heifers, you're getting a really nice covering of fat at that weight. So that's why we're going for the heifers, and they go down quite well at the market. We buy in store cattle, so anything between 8 to 11 months coming in the farm, and they're bought all over Scotland, and some from sort of Wooler and Hexham as well. So just we kind of buying all over Scotland, you're getting more choice. You kind of you're getting good quality as well. You're sort of buying from all over the place, and also you kind of price as well. You're not just stuck to one place. We also buy in St Boswell's, so we are buying locally as well. And so the arable side of the business, there's about 2,500 acres of the arable business. The home farm at the Edge, we're about 400 acres, and then the rest is made up of contracts and rental agreements. The picture on the right of the combine, we grow a lot of Golden Promise, which is a malting spring barley variety, and it all goes to MSP in Berwick, and they produce a malt, and then that malt gets shipped all over the world. Funny fact, when we were in America and sat in a bar, they had beer that they'd brewed themselves, and it had Golden Promise in it, so it's come from Berwick to America, so that was quite cool. We have a few trials going on the farm as well. I'm quite keen on trials. I think they're useful, especially if they're on your own farm. You get a sense of what's going on your own farm, and what varieties are going to do well and what's not going to do well. So that works quite well for us. Since I came home, we've actually, you'll see in the top right hand side of the screen, we've got a logo for the farm. We're starting to go global, and just setting up a brand. But no, I think everyone's looking forward to all their jackets arriving with the logo on. So it's just in the two previous farms we had t-shirts, jumpers, coats with a logo on, and the staff responded really well to that, and it makes you part of a team. It your staff is so important, and you just want to make them feel part of what you're doing, and you want them to care, and you want them to be passionate, and to give them something that makes them feel like they're part of a team, for me is really important. So that's kind of the road we've gone down. So every time you ever see me, I'm going to be plastered in a B-Edge logo with something on it. So yeah. Right, so move on to succession. So Dad and I's succession plan started back in December 2018, and I'd come home for Christmas, and we sort of sat down and started talking about what was going to happen with the farm. The question was raised, would I like to come home? And for me it was yes. Yeah, I know what I want to do now, and I want to come home and I want to work with Dad. But it was really important that we were both ready. I wanted Dad to be ready to begin, very slowly passing on bits of responsibility from the business. So now I'm home, I do fertilizer plans and speak to grain traders and things like that. But also that Dad was ready as well. It's, when your business has been your life, there is, if you don't want to hand it over, then that's absolutely fine. I don't mind, but dad knows that the next generation is really important, and the next generation is coming through. So dad was ready to begin showing me the ropes of how the farm operated, and I knew I was ready to come home. Dad and I get on really well. We sort of have similar outlooks and goals, and we both understand what direction we want the farm to be going in. And it's kind of, what best than to, have that ambition together of what you want to do. We've both got a really keen eye for detail, and you give 110%. That is how I've been growing up and playing a lot of sport. You want to win. You are, the Hamiltons are competitive, as I keep getting told. And I mean, we're a really close family in general. All my both sides, my mother's side and my father's side. So that's another thing that is always in the back of my mind, is that it's really important that Dad and I have a good relationship, because we've got other family members, at Christmas time, or at Easter, when we all meet up, we've all still got to get on. And my kind of view on that is that I have a huge amount of respect for Dad and for what he does. So I will let him do what he would still like to do. Dad will still have things that he wants to do with the farm. That's absolutely fine, and we just work together to do that. So for sort of just the first year that I'm home, I'm just sort of shadowing what Dad does. We meet every Tuesday and Thursday evening for an hour and just discuss different parts of the business, whether it's cropping, rotation. The other night we were discussing how he sort of decides how many cattle he's putting out on the grass, just little things like that. So that's what we're talking about at the moment. It mostly consists of me asking him lots of questions, but as I said before, if you don't know, you don't know, and that's the way to learn. The other thing for me, I know that I've been away, I've worked really hard at what I've done, and I've come home to help and to move the farm forward, and that's really important that we keep doing that. As farmers, we're actually, we adapt every day to what's going on with the weather, so we're always adapting, and that's really important that we keep doing that here at the Edge. It makes me sad and a little bit angry when you hear of succession stories that haven't really gone very well, and there's still all the members of the family still making all the decisions, and it's I just find it quite sad. And when the average age of a farmer in the UK is 59, it makes it really hard to show off our industry to the younger generation. There are we need young people in ag, because at some point there's probably already a generation gap, and we need younger people to help us move forward. So it's it just makes you sad when you hear stories and it's not going the way that it's going for me. So we've got a few diversification bits going on the farm. So that is, actually, sorry, I'm just going to go back. On the right hand side, that's my sister Rosie, and that's another succession thing. I have a younger sister, Rosie. She's at Harper doing her masters, but currently at home, so she gets to help me with bits and pieces. But it's still trying to create a business that if Rosie would like to come home one day, then there's something for her, and it's just she might want to go and do something else. But it's really important that, as I said before, the business keeps moving forward, so there's always room for it to grow. So sorry, diversification. So last year, my brother, mum and dad, they set up a caravan site just outside the farm for 5 caravans, and that was kind of the first real diversification project that went on. And unfortunately, COVID just came at the wrong time, and we've been shut but you know, that is a really good project, and it's you know, additional income to the farm is quite important now, as BPS is slowly, we're not so bad in Scotland, but you know, is slowly gonna get less and less. Alistair put in some solar panels, so they supply the electric for the caravan site. Both myself and Alistair, we've got holiday cottages down in the local village, so you know, we are in a touristy area, and there are people around. Again, we're quiet at the moment, but you know, once people can get out and about, we are going to be busy. We're a busy family, so we all like having something to do, which brings you to my diversification project, which was St Abbs pumpkin patch. I don't even know where the idea came from, actually, but I just decided it might be a fun thing to do. So back at the end of May, we planted 5,500 plants by hand, and then we watered them for 4 days by hand because it was so dry. And then we weeded them all by hand about 4 times, picked them all by hand. So it was a massive labour of love, but as the next photos I'll show you, it was the most incredible experience, and there was a massive buzz about it, and it was just, yeah, it was a fun project. For the patch to really work and get out there, I needed a brand, I needed a logo. So I actually went to Borders College, and I asked them if they had any graphic design students that would like to sort of pitch for to design something. And so we had some great designs come back, and he was actually, the chap who did it was actually an ex-student, but you know, it's still just nice to have someone young and support the next generation. So this guy produced this for us, which was brilliant, and still working with them at the moment on what we're going to do for this year. On the right hand side, so partner Tom, that was kind of when it all became real, when we stuck the sign up. So that was yeah, that was a big day doing that. So we needed a unique selling point. We needed something that people were gonna come to us. So I think Mum and Dad thought I was a bit mad at the time, but found an old boat down in the harbour, and went down one day with a forklift and picked it up and brought it to the patch, and then kind of had the idea to fill it full of pumpkins. And you know, that picture of the boat with the pumpkins and the sign, that was what people were going to put on Snapchat, that is what people were going to put on Facebook, and people were going to see that and go, that's where they went, I want to go there too. We had thousands of visitors. It really was a bit mad. I thought we'd be busy, but it was just incredible to watch the people turn up. I was only going to be open sort of 3 or 4 weekends in October, but I ended up being open all the time, even when it was raining, because there was a demand for it. So yeah, it was quite an incredible thing to watch. So of course COVID played a part. We were quite lucky in the fact that, you know, there weren't really too many restrictions in place. I don't think there were any in place at that time, and we, you know, people had to wear masks in the queue. We limited the amount of people that were on the patch, and people had to sanitize going in and coming out. You know, we had signs of social distancing in place, and you know, we were doing our bit. We were making sure that people were safe, and no one ever complained or said that they felt unsafe, or you know, said, what are you doing? Which just showed that we were trying hard, and we were trying to keep people safe. The picture on the left, that was on the last day. We're probably looking a bit bedraggled because it was a lot of work, a lot of time, and that was kind of on the weekend before Halloween, so we just put up a few scarecrows. So the picture on the left was the first day we opened. and the pitch on the right was the last day. And I mean, the boat by the last day, we were really, it was horrible, but I had to turn people away that, you know, all the pumpkins had gone, which from my point was nice, there was nothing left, but also it was sad that, you know, you couldn't give everyone one. But yeah, even people started raiding the boat to get their pumpkins off, but it really was the most amazing thing to do. And as I said, we're doing it again this year. Got a few tricks up the old sleeve as to what we're going to do. So I've ordered all the seed. So that was a big moment. But yeah, no, it really was incredible, and a really fun thing to do. I almost felt like the community needed it, and we were so supportive with locals that it was the nicest thing, and people only had nice things to say, and you know, people were just saying thank you for doing something that meant we could come out. And we had people from all over Edinburgh, Glasgow, Durham, you name it, they'd come to us. So kind of just touch on the last few slides. As George said, social media for me is quite a big thing now. It's important for the pumpkin patch. We've got a Facebook page for the farm. I'm really keen on Twitter. Personally, for me, it's the best platform. There's a lot of agriculture. There's a lot of agricultural people on it, and you know, you can learn quite a lot quite quickly just reading what other people are up to. I was always a little bit scared, is probably the right word, of social media, but I recently took over an account on Twitter which is called Farmers of the UK, and it's got about 46,000 people that follow it. And my first couple of days, you take it for a week, and the first couple of days that I did it, I was probably quite sort of shy in what I was putting on. And then as the days went on, I kind of got a bit more braver and started putting up things about the cattle, and you know, a little bit more detailed of what we're doing. And actually the response that we got was amazing. And it kind of, for me, social media has to be positive. The minute people start putting anything negative or start arguing, I'm not interested in it, and it's just boring, and it's just a bit sad to watch and to read. So for me, social media has to be positive. You're showing, you've got access to hundreds of thousands of people. If you have a tweet that keeps on moving, and you know, you can really quite quickly get something out there that you're wanting to do. So yeah, social media for me is important. You've got to be positive and don't be scared. And yeah, I've only really had one person who annoyed me on Twitter by writing something about a post that I put up, but you get that, I'm afraid. So second last slide. When George asked me to do this, I knew there was a Women in Ag network, but I didn't really realise that there was like the Borders and a Lothian sort of cut off on it. And as I said earlier on, I really enjoyed Young Farmers. I loved it. It was a great group to be part of. And I've always wanted to set up something like this. I've not really known how to go about it, or I've not really had the time. But I now feel that I do. Unfortunately, with these events, with the FAST events, it's only sort of 2 or 3 a year. Whereas my idea, whether it's a good idea or not, I'd really like to set up a group for the Borders, the Lothians and Northumberland, and it purely being involved of female speakers, whether that be agronomists, auctioneers, photographers, quality control. When you start looking on social media of females involved in ag in all aspects, it's incredible. There are some really amazing people out there doing some really brilliant things, and I kind of feel like I'd like to showcase that and just show people, you know, what's going on. So it would be, well, to start off with, it would be online, and when we could sort of try and make it in person, we would. So I'm just going to put up a poll, and I'd really just like to know if there is a following for this, and if there's not, I won't be offended. But if there is, it would be really nice to try and set up something like this. So I'm just going to put up a poll, and hopefully everybody can see this. And if everybody could just vote if people think that, if people think there would be something, and it would be, as I said, it would be female speakers. It would be trying to get younger people involved. Just, showing that for younger people, there are so many different avenues that you can go into in ag, and it's not just farming. There is so much more that goes on, and I'd love to set something like this up. I think we're still waiting for a few votes. I'll give it a couple of minutes. So that kind of brings me to the end of what I was wanting to say. I think just for me to end, really, in agriculture and in agricultural businesses, with sort of females not being the minority, I've found that in a working environment, male and females get on incredibly well. Females have skills that men don't have, and vice versa. And when you bring that together, you're bringing two minds together that think very differently, and for me that's really important. So within the ag industry, I've only ever had a positive experience, and I hope that continues. But I hope I've got across that I love what I do. And if you do have any questions, or if anybody ever wants to get in touch with me about anything, I'm more than happy to talk. As I said, if you're honest, people appreciate that more. So I think we're probably going to do some questions now. So I can say that the poll results were good. So watch this space. I'll work out the best way of trying to do it, and then we'll go from there. But I'll keep in touch with George about it. So right, yeah. Any questions?
Annabel, I can't believe you've managed to fit all that into an hour. It's pretty impressive. We had a wee comment there from Martin Stothard. I don't know if Martin wants to unmute himself. And
I think he left, George, as well.
Did he leave? Oh, he was just saying that he used to know you when you were in Lincolnshire, and to keep on tweeting.
Yeah.
And we had another comment there from Nina Clancy. Nina was just making the remark, it's great to see how proactive you've been with the succession process. I think it's pretty amazing that you have that sort of routine of sitting down for your hour meetings and sort of getting that done. I don't know, would you like to maybe tell us a wee bit more about, was that quite a hard thing to do? Did it take a bit of thinking about how to approach that situation, or was it quite a progressive thing between both of you?
For the meetings?
Yeah, for the succession.
So it kind of it came about quite quickly that we just didn't have the time during the day to sit down and talk about how we were going to do it all. And Dad came up with a good idea that, right, let's just set a time every Tuesday, every Thursday in the evening when we're done, and just sit down and talk about how we're going to do it. It also meant that I get supper in the farmhouse every Tuesday and Thursday. So that worked out quite well. But yeah, it just we needed to have a specific time to sit down and talk. Otherwise, we were never going to do it because there's just so many other things going on. So yeah, that's just how we fitted that in. And yeah, it's having that conversation. And I've got an older brother who's an accountant and a younger sister, and we're all really keen of agriculture and what's going on. And at some point the younger generation want to know what's happening with the farm. And that sort of Christmas I came home in 2018, that was kind of when we wanted to start asking what was going on. So
that's really encouraging. There was another question that came in. If anyone wants to ask a question, you can just feel free to unmute yourself or type in the chat. There was a question that came in about growing up. Did you ever have any role models or mentors that sort of encouraged you growing up? Someone that sort of inspired you to take the bull by the horns, as it were.
So I've always looked up quite a lot to mum and dad, and we've always been taught just to kind of stand up for ourselves and not get on with it, but we've always cut the grass or done chores. You learn that to make money in life you have to work. Nothing just gets given to you. And yeah, I've not really had like a mentor, but I looked up a lot to mum and dad, and I know what I want, and it's almost like not no one's going to stand in my way, but I knew that I wanted to go and work at that estate in Lincoln. It was fantastic. I can't tell you how much I learned, and for the manager who was there at that time, to give me that responsibility and to let me take a bit of charge of what was going on. That was me. I loved that. That was what I wanted to do. And a lot of it is probably just my mentality that I knew what I wanted, and I was gonna do it any way that I possibly could. So yeah, just getting on with it and being positive gets you quite a long way. You can show a bit of initiative, and I said a bit of get up and go. People like that.
Yeah. We had a question come in from Nina. What do you suggest to encourage more women in leadership within agriculture?
Yeah. Good question.
It's a difficult one.
Thank you. Yeah. I think when you look at a lot of these committees that are out there and organisations, A, they're usually male dominated, and B, they are like, I don't want to say older, because that's not, it sounds like I'm being harsh, but I'm not. They're, when you look at these boards, they are full of older members, and that to me is not, I don't really want to go sit in a room full of older people. That sounds horrible. I'm not being horrible, but we need young people that why is a young person going to go and sit on a meeting or a committee that doesn't have any other younger people on it? So I think from a leadership point of view, then these committees and these organisations need to know that they should be getting younger members in, and that not necessarily having an age cutoff, but if and that's what puts me off a lot of going into a lot of these things, is going and sitting on a board that don't understand that in 10, 20 years time there'll be a generational gap in ag, and there won't be people there that will want to come and that want to sit on these boards. So that for me is probably quite a big thing. That is maybe not a sort of gender thing, it's probably more of an age thing, but have confidence. Again, the ag industry cannot survive purely on male people getting involved, there has to be females. There's not enough people out there that want to go down the ag route for it just to be males. And yeah, have confidence. You are, you know, I'm just, this is not, I'm not being cocky, but I am just as good as anybody else out there. You know, I know that I can do it. So just, yeah, don't be afraid. Never be afraid to ask a question or get involved in anything. The worst someone's going to say to you is no. And if they say no, then they're probably not the right person that you want to be
Raise hand, chat, meeting.
getting involved with. So, yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's a good question, you know, and it's probably something that you probably needs discussed more.
Yeah, sure. The next thing, Annabel, that came in there, you've obviously got a huge social media presence and multiple Facebook pages. 40,000 people, was it, that were following on Farmers of the UK? Is that quite a stressful thing to manage? And you know, how important do you think it is for advocating agriculture and sort of women in leadership roles in agriculture going forward? You know.
So yeah, that Farmers of the UK Twitter page that I took over for a week, yeah, I think it said about 46,000. When I first started it, I was quite shy with it, and I thought the main thing for me is that I didn't want anybody to not be horrible, but just to say nasty things, because as I said, that's not what social media is. That's not what I see it's for. It's there for being positive and putting pictures up of the cattle going to market or being clipped. That for me was quite a big thing, because you're kind of discussing, eventually these animals aren't going to be around anymore, and there are a lot of horrible people out there on social. There are a lot of horrible people on social media, and I didn't want that to happen to me. I just didn't want that. But again, I only ever put, we live in a beautiful place, so it's quite easy for me to put up really, nice pictures of the sun shining and the combine or the sprayer or whatever's going on that day. But I really enjoy it, and I think it's important because again, you're showing people what you're doing, and it's another way of engaging with the public and engaging with some people who don't maybe know what's quite going on a farm. So yeah, no, it can be a bit stressful but I try and tweet every day. I try and do something every day, even if it's just a picture and a bit of a waffle. Yeah. No,
that's brilliant. I think that's really encouraging, because I think a lot of people can relate to social media as being a very scary place. I can sometimes feel that way when I go to post something or share something. You're always thinking, how are people going to react to that? And so I think it's really, really encouraging to hear you with such a large following. You talk about it like it's such an easy thing to do, but it's really not, and so important going forward. We've got another question there. I'll have to finish up with the questions after this one, but from Laura, do you think that more should be done to encourage people who have not grown up in the industry, and how do we make the industry more attractive to people coming in for the first time?
Yeah. Again, that the ag industry needs those people who do not come from an agricultural background, and I know a lot of successful people who haven't had an agricultural background. How to get them in? Ag's actually now, there's a lot of technology going on. It's becoming quite modern, there are some farms, and there'll always be some farms that don't go down the modern route, but there's a lot of science, there's so much going on, there's such a big picture than just being a farmer. And when you start looking at sort of careers in ag, there is so much out there, whatever you've gone off to go study, how to get those people in, social media, unis, maybe, I don't think I ever went to an agricultural careers fair at Durham, but going to non-agricultural universities and showcasing what jobs are out there. But again, to make it attractive to people, it comes back down to making sure there is younger people in the business to encourage a younger generation to come through. So yeah, there's that's another big question, and it's hopefully in time that'll we'll keep getting people into the industry. But yes, and things like that farmer time and showing a primary school kid what you're doing that day, and they 20 years down the line, they might go, oh, that was so cool, I might want to do something like that. And so I can't stress how big that farmer time group is, and it does a lot for the industry. So, and a way of showcasing what we're doing.
Yeah, no, completely agree. Annabel, that's us just out of time now, but I'd just like to thank you very much for coming to speak to us all today. We really appreciate it, especially because it's such a nice day out there. So I hope that wasn't too stressful. And yeah, thanks. I thought that was really encouraging, and I think just the wee pick me up that I think everyone needed, and it's really good to just hear a very positive and motivating story. So thanks again.
Pleasure. No, thank you for asking me. And as I said, find me on Twitter or Facebook. If anybody ever wants to ask me anything, I'm more than happy to try and help where I can. And yeah, I hope everybody stays safe and goes and sunbathes, because it's definitely sunbathing weather.
Yeah, so just on Twitter, Annabel, is it just how can people find you on Twitter?
Yeah, give me 1 minute, I'll actually just find my handle. Yeah, I'm at Annabel Hammy 11.
Brilliant. Well, I'll put that in the meeting summary. But yeah, be sure to check that out. I'll just make people aware quickly of, we did a couple of podcasts recently off the back of some of our previous meetings. We actually held a social media presence meeting last summer, and we recorded 2 podcasts off the back of that. So 2 local Borders businesses, Harriet Busby from Border Berries and Lucy Tyle from Barnkin Farm, both great examples of people who have adapted and sort of progressed with social media and sort of used it to their advantage. We also did a business planning meeting more recently, where we had David Bailey from HSBC. He came to speak to us about what was needed for a successful business plan. We, off the back of that, we spoke to Leslie Mitchell from Whittriggs Farm, and we interviewed Leslie about some of her successful business planning, and Leslie's got a wealth of experience and knowledge, and I think that's really worth a listen. So be sure to check out those couple of things there, and you can also find a whole host of other podcasts on wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Audio Boom. Just type in the Farm Advisory Service. There's also a YouTube channel, so you can catch all the recordings from previous meetings, including this one, webinars, etc., etc., just type in the Farm Advisory Service into YouTube. So yeah, thank you all for listening, and Annabel, thanks again for joining us. So I'll just end it there. Thank you.